South spawn. Why did you guys choose the south spawn over the north spawn on Land of Fire?
Particularly for what we're gonna do with our Mothra. It requires the F7 rock.
Got it. Okay. Because a lot of times um, I'll see Stalingrads or Moskvas on the Gulf 5 island, and I just don't feel like it does enough at that position.
Hmm.
So, okay.
I mean,
Um,
the G5 island is essentially kind of what the B cap is on North, where you're just playing to keep somebody off of it. You're
yeah.
not anywhere with effective shots. You're not really
Mm-hmm.
doing anything other than mashing your radar key.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, this map does have a lot of strengths on the north side.
Mm-hmm.
We just wanted south for a very specific reason.
Okay.
But for example, the island that's on the 9 o'clock position of the B cap, like that is a much stronger island from the north side of the cap.
Yeah, you mean oh yeah. The Echo 4 Foxtrot 4 island here. I was actually just fixing to move over here because I feel like the south end is better, but you said the north end is better?
It's more protected if you're gonna put a cruiser there.
That's weird because I feel like this town here, I've seen so many cruisers get dunked on from battleships over
Yeah, but
that
the
direction.
battleship has to be up so far to get those shots in.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go into A cap and look
Mm-hmm.
towards like north side of A cap and then look towards the island on B, you'll see like what a good angle that is for ships that are
Mm-hmm.
not pushed up that far down the 1-2 line.
Because this is a smoother
Yep.
angle that allows you to hit the ships that are bow in versus over here because of that abrupt front end. You can have a cruiser that backs up here, for example, and it's much harder to hit that cruiser. They can keep backing up even to over here. They just have to be careful not to go too far back because they expose their rear. Okay.
Like
Um,
that island for a cruiser, a good way to put it, I guess, would be it. The south side becomes untenable for a 1-2 push a lot faster than the north side does.
sure, and we've seen that. The other thing too is here I would not put something that can be overmatched bow-wise to large caliber battleships, right? So I wouldn't want to put a Des Moines here. Maybe a Moskva.
The
I've seen.
trade-off is that you can actually get a Des Moines there pretty safely, whereas like
Mhm.
you're taking a really big risk getting a Mosso there.
Absolutely right. It's getting to there is the hard part. I've seen teams also put Kremlins there, um, and try to make them work because again, you project your power forward. But
Hmm.
okay, well let's talk. Let's take a look at your lineup and see. You've got double Harugumo, you've got the Z42, you've got Worcester, Moskva, Brisbane, Vermont, and Montana. Now, it's interesting that you've put Murica in Montana instead of the Vermont. I'm curious about that. We've seen him do so well in the Vermont. Why are you putting him in the Montana?
I'll be honest with you. Battleship players aren't real, so we just let them do whatever they want. So they just decided among themselves who's gonna play what.
Okay, and that
I
that's
mean,
that's fine.
we trust both of them, so it's
Yeah.
whatever. We don't really care.
Okay. Migs, congratulations on the win, and we've got a new giveaway going. This is for a CC container, guys. Um, all right. Can you tell me about the lineup for Rain and what you guys are thinking about when you see their lineup?
So as soon as we see daring on this map, it's almost always going to be playing B, just because it's
Of
so
course.
slow. You don't take it out on 1 line, you don't take it out on 10 line. It
Right.
could maybe play like between two caps, like between A and B, but the
Mm-hmm.
common starting spot for it is always going to be B cap.
Right.
Um, the Harugumo, first thought is that it's smoking something, probably the Brisbane, one of the two Brisbanes that they have, if not both.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, in a KOTS site scenario, you don't want both radars in the same smoke though. So we're
Okay.
expecting like one Harugumo, one Brisbane. Um,
Okay.
I think they do end up playing both Brisbanes together though, so that is something that does happen. The Kleb, that one can go a bunch of different ways. You know, it could go fast cap either A or C. It could go out the 10 line as quickly as possible and then run down or run down one line. Or it could play
Mm-hmm.
gun support for the daring at B to try to get a pick. So the Kleb is basically like the first thing that we're looking for. How fast does a cap get touched? That's what tells
Mm-hmm.
us where a Kleb is likely to be. Where
Oh,
does
sure.
RPF go? Or even where does a cap not get touched? So if A or C hasn't been touched in the time that we expect the Kleb to be there,
Mm-hmm.
then we can start ruling out. Okay, we don't think he's there, but it's a lot of guessing game with clubs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Salem, the expectation is a lot of the times that it's either going to end up on the A island or that
Mm-hmm.
B island we were talking about earlier.
Right.
They don't end up putting him in either of those, but that is where we're originally like looking for them to potentially go with.
Mm-hmm.
The Mecklenburg, I don't even know what the reaction to the Mecklenburg was. It was essentially, okay, it's a Mecklenburg, don't show broadside to it.
Right.
But we didn't really have any for sure indication of like, oh, they're probably going to do this with it.
Sure. And it's Dastard. We know him as a
Yep.
battleship player, so here comes his salvo in, and in this case, no fire, but still he's in a position to keep pausing fires for this is Chukwama's Stalingrad. Okay. Why Worcester?
Um, so we can't have uh a two Brisbanes and what was the other band in this that's on the same list?
I don't remember. There's a lot of complex rules.
Yeah, I have it in front. I kept having to refer back to this over and over. Um, oh, it is so this one was it got a little complex, right? Because it's one of Mosfa, Napoli, St. Vincent, Marceau, and because we
Hmm.
put our Mosfa on the 7 line there, then for the rock where the Stalingrad is, we had to use a Stalin. And then Stalin, Ragnar, Kremlin, and Brisbane are limited to no more than 2 of each. So to have the Stalingrad, we couldn't have a second Brisbane.
Thank you. That's what it is. Okay. I mean, there were teams that lost games because they brought wrong lineups because, I mean, those rules
Yeah,
again are so complex.
we had a dedicated person just double checking everything. Like it's not bad whenever you're able to run a planned out strat, but
Mm-hmm.
a band comes in or you decide to switch it up because you think they're going to play a certain way.
Right.
Um,
And that can catch you off guard.
yeah, speaking of catching me off guard, their daring got really caught out by.
Yeah.
Originally, it was the Worcester radar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole plan between this is to have the Worcester radar over B early and then going out to C, and then the Mosfet comes in and then he's got radar over both B and C. Um,
Yeah.
so between the Z42 in the cap, essentially, you see him backing up right now because like the threat to him is super low, but he can just keep backing up and keep the daring and hydro, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that daring first gets caught out in a Worcester radar, then we have the monster radar for it as well, and then he's in the Z42 hydro. So
Mm-hmm.
he's
And
already
you,
taken a lot of damage, but he's just it's a matter of time before he's dead here.
yeah, and you also have the Stalingrad radar, which I see Chukwama
Yeah.
putting up. Obviously, that's the insurance policy to ensure that he does not go dark.
The strat is
'Cause,
basically
yeah.
just radar locking the hell out of B and C, and then having the Brisbane radar to keep them from like full wrap A.
I mean, and that
We
makes
don't
sense. So,
we don't care if they get A as long as they can't push past it.
okay. But if that's the case, then that's dependent on you guys getting a cap. You managed to get both B and C as a result of this. So at this point, I mean, you guys are probably feeling pretty good about yourselves, right? Like this is looking
Yep.
nice. All right, there's a radar up from Fratstar over there at the A side. He's detected both Brisbanes and a Hargumo, which means that your Brisbane and Hargumo are probably being counter radared at this point. I'm guessing those are radiolocation pings from UU's, see in the Worcester, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the club pops up.
Right there, okay. So you're figuring, alright, the Kleber might go into the cap. Now, Napoli is going way off to the 10 line, so, you know, he'll be a pain in the butt in about 5 minutes, but for right now, there's not much you can do about him.
Like here, we've already got a pretty good idea that they have to aggress on B. They
Mm-hmm.
can't aggress on B quickly or on C quickly enough. Like you said, the Napoli's going to take forever to get there. The
Yep.
Mecklenburg is playing super centrally, so they don't have a battleship they're shoving down there. So their play is with the Kleb or the two Brisbanes or just one Brisbane or whatever at B. We're
Right.
not 100% sure, other than the Kleb, what's going to be like trying to play for B. But they're down a ship and they're down 2 caps, so they have to do something, and B's really their only option.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, like, the Moss is looking mid. The Worcester, instead of going fully out to C, is staying real close to B.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, you got to be careful. You want to let them come into you guys, but at the same time, you don't want somebody to get caught out and killed for free.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to look at the map right now without knowing anything else, I mean, we look like we're in a really good position to win this.
You
And
look
I mean,
like you're in a
it's
great
still
position
really early.
until one ship dies,
Yeah.
and then it turns into a domino effect. Um, I'm seeing that it looks like Dyer is clicking. That's Battleship Nagato now. Okay, he's in the Haragumo, so that's radiolocation. So he's basically saying, all right.
They're worried about the Napoli just straight walking into C instead of walking down the 910.
Well, of course, because at this point, you guys, I mean, the Worcester's moved so far off of CCAP. Your Mosfa's up there. Really, the only thing stopping him is the Montana. That's America, but even then, it'll take a long time for him to be able to react, and Napoli kind of counters battleships anyways, so I can understand the concern. Nice hit on Gangparang with the Kleber there.
Yeah,
You
getting that
force
much
him to
damage up
DCP.
left too this early is
Yeah.
huge. Like,
Well, you forced him a DCP, so that's huge. And I saw
more than
Gangparang. Go ahead.
the thing about Kleber's and French Ds in general is their usefulness is directly tied to their HP, which sounds like a silly thing to say because like that's almost every ship, but
Mm-hmm.
like you can lose half your health in a Shimakaze and you're still fine to play the game like normally. You wouldn't change much how you play the game in a Shima at half health than at full health, but in a Kleb, like you're much
Mm-hmm.
more limited in what you're able to do. Like you can no
Right.
longer guarantee a rush. You can no longer take a fight that you would have taken with like a Daring, for example, or a Harugumo.
Yep. And now look at C. Napoli has wrapped around CCAP, and the Mecklenburg is going around too, which is a problem because you've got Moskva Worcester kind of in the middle. Matter of fact, we're gonna break. Never mind.
Yeah. So they have to aggress with their Brisbane here to save their club essentially. We get some
Mhm.
really good. And you're gonna see here that he's gonna beach as well, right before
I
he
see
goes
that.
dark.
I see that. Now he must have popped his radar, which is what caught your Harugumo Dyer,
Yeah.
and then of course the mech hits him. But I want to see these shells coming in from the other side here because I think that's huge as well from the. Okay. Because Nagato is desperately trying to smoke up both of your cruisers, but they've split. So, I mean,
It's mainly to smoke the Worcester. The Moss is just a bonus in this case.
okay.
Like if you can get over there or not. Because like the Moss is just fine living on that island.
Okay.
There's not a huge amount of things that are gonna farm him down. Like the Salem can trade with him and win that trade, but it's gonna take a while.
Now, as soon as you guys saw that Lulu has moved back, I can see your Hargumo has gone into A. Feels safe enough now. It's just 2-on-1 or two, you know, whatever. So,
Yeah, we realized pretty quickly that there's no way we're gonna hold C. Like at best, we're gonna reset that Mecklenburg forever, but we don't have any way to like keep them off of it.
it's gonna take forever to farm the mech down. Napoli is a real threat. If you stay there, he can, smoke rush. I can see that Murka's already pushed off or is already leaving as well.
The big mistake in this game already happened, in my opinion.
Which is your Hargamo dying?
Nope. Look how far off our Montana is, and our Vermont as well. Like, we should
Yeah.
have been more aggressive with our battleship HP.
Yeah, that's part of what I was trying to say with him leaving. Like, I felt like... obviously, he's afraid of that Napoli charging him and all that. I can understand, but...
Like, the alternative is just worse. Like, you don't necessarily want to be taking a fight with a Napoli here as a battleship, but...
Right.
When the alternative is that the Napoli ends up behind your Moskva, and your Moskva is like the entire key to locking down these caps. Like, you just have to take that risk.
Sure. And I kind of see him actually doing that. He's turning north now.
Yeah, I think it just happened too late.
All right, nice torpedo.
Nice
Nice torp kill on the Mecklenburg, by the way. That was really nice to see.
Yeah, that was huge.
So, I mean, now you're up 2 ships to their 1. You've got technically 2 of the caps that are ticking right now because the enemy Hargamo went in. Something happened to Fratstar, and I'm guessing that's a torpedo or Montana salvo, but regardless, he goes down, which means... Ouch.
Yeah, the problem now with our Brisbane on the 1 line dying is our Harumo is also dead. It's just a matter of time. Like, it's when they decide they want to kill him.
I mean, the best thing for the Hargamo to do at this point is just run away. But, yeah.
I think he's under radar right now, so he can't leave.
Okay, he's not detected now, but he probably was for a while. And, I mean, we're going back to Chukwama's view here. I mean, just constantly being shot at is what you'd expect. Napoli walks into sea and takes it for free. Wow. No, it's the Brisbane. Lulu went in.
Yep. I mean, the big thing was their Napoli essentially tying up 4 ships. Because the Moskva, the Worcester, and the Harugumo couldn't really play the game while that Napoli was threatening their backside like that. And then obviously the Montana has to respond to it. So that's essentially 4 ships to deal with a single ship.
Now, EU manages to farm out the Montana. There's some smoke coming for Tester's Moskva. He's dark now. But it might be too little too late at only 3,000 hit points. 2,000 and on fire. That's probably it. 1,500. Rain doing a nice job continually firing into the smoke. Oh. Brisbane single fire torpedoes from Lulu. Locking down that spot. Smart.
And not killing Lulu when he beached on that rock was a tragedy.
Well, I mean, that led you guys to this. I'm wondering why your Vermont... I want to pause for a second. Why is your Vermont there?
So he was originally going to push into their Montana that had gotten on the B rock.
Yeah.
He was dead, though. The threat from the Harugumo Brisbane was just too much for a low HP Vermont. So he has to start getting out of there.
Okay.
Like, we've already kind of decided the Harugumo's dead at some point. Best we can hope for is a trade.
Yeah, he's on radar now. But I feel like... I don't know, I feel like he...
Hydra, actually.
I'm sorry, what?
That might be Hydra, actually.
Oh yeah, that's a possibility too.
I think at this point the Brisbane is in the cap with them. So they're like... After the our Brisbane went down on the 1 line, their Brisbane turned into a cap, and they waited for that Brisbane to get there before they just double pinched the Harugumo.
Well, and that's what I mean before about he had an opportunity to run. I thought he was going to run to the Vermont and the 2 of them were going to link up. But that didn't happen. You guys just basically left a ship for dead.
Yeah.
Here comes the Napoli. And the thing is here is that the Napoli's probably not going to live long enough to really be able to do much. But, like you said, he definitely caught attention. Here goes Todd. I think the biggest problem with Todd dying, though,
Look
is...
how low their Harugumo is, by the way.
Oh, wow, he almost got him.
Yep. I think if that's a trade, we're also in a much different position.
Yeah, and then Murica dies here for...
Yeah, Brisbane Twerps.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't kill Lulu, so unlucky.
Very unlucky. I almost feel like Murica would have been better suited focusing on Lulu and not worrying about the Napoli that's charging him, because... I mean...
Yeah, that's fair.
Napoli can't kill him, you know what I mean? I think that the problem with the Harugumo dying is literally just points. And now you've got no points, no control. And now it's time for Battleship Nagato to try to make something happen. There goes Tester. He finally gets farmed down.
Well, one of the calculations with leaving the Harugumo in A is that he's freezing points on A. Like, we've lost B and we're losing C, so losing 3 caps would have just like doomed us super quick. Whereas like keeping the Harugumo in at least gives us time to do something somewhere else.
So I guess my question for that then would be why keep him on the island instead of at the edge of the cap?
If he's at the edge of the cap, the Brisbane just runs at him. By the time the Brisbane gets spotted, he's what, 2.5 kilometers in his radar.
Gotcha. Okay. There's Torps on Lulu. Does not take a torpedo. There goes EU to Gangrang's Clever. Lulu still survived. Wow. Nagato finally kills him, but it's a trade. And now, it's you, it's Jukwama and the Vermont, who are right next to each other. So, I guess they can hold hands and W forward.
It's insane how quickly this game got out of hand. Like, we just gave them an opening and they just rammed it in.
Well, they did a fantastic... I mean, Rain, remember, is EU's #2 team, right? Like,
yep.
You know what they're doing here. Not that you guys don't, of course.
It's this weird thing where it's like there's absolutely no shame in losing to them, but this is a game that we absolutely had won. We just made a mistake and they took advantage of it.
Right. All right, let's take a look at the replay render. Hey, Fratstar, thanks for the follow. Fratstar is one of those people that I've seen long time ago, and I'm surprised he's still around. But then again, some people are probably still surprised I'm around. Body count. There's another name. Thank you guys for the follows. Watch you throw this game. So, Frat, can you tell us? Can you tell us what happened to you? Because you just got chunked, and I wasn't sure if it was torpedoes or battleship. I'll watch, but. Montana. I mean, you're still okay here. I saw him fire a shot at you, but still okay. You're doing circles. Zulu, it is a late stream for me, and I will be ending this soon. .tm.
Yeah, the Montana got farmed pretty good there, so he backed off, and we just kind of assumed he wasn't going to push up because that would be a little psychotic. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and here we spot him again, still backing off.
You're inverse to farm to Salem, and then you got caught. Okay. Yeah, this is the part here, though. I mean, your Haru goes into A. It's Todd. The problem is with him going into A, you lose the vision. Hey, Nifty. TV wants bed. Oh, and there you go. Yeah, it's just kind of a bad situation, right? You had no vision, you had no idea where the Montana was, and then he just literally pops out right when you kind of don't want him to be there.
In hindsight, like if you're looking back on it, obviously 2020 vision, but
Hmm.
the Hirumo could have gone in and then like stayed not fully on the rock, just like slightly off of it, to still maintain vision into mid.
Well, and that's what I was talking about earlier, but yeah, I mean, I think that vision is just so huge.
Like he would have had to enter the cap from the other direction so that he could be facing the one line. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see why he didn't, because the risk was also that Brisbane would have just pushed down one line, and then he wants to be able to leave out towards 10 line, not towards one line.
True, but you've got Frat there to help. I mean, splitting the two up, I think, becomes a problem because as soon as that smoke is gone, it's just untenable for any Brisbane. Unless you're Lulu, apparently. Yeah, you like went from everything to nothing.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that like really hurts to lose, just because like you said, it's the number two EU team.
Yep.
Like mainstays in KOTS. I believe they've won KOTS before, right?
I don't know.
I
Probably.
think I think two KOTS ago, Ring won. But it's like, we essentially had the game won and then we didn't. So it's I don't know. It hurts sort of extra bad whenever
Well,
it's like you're that close, I guess.
the hard part, and from somebody who's done clan battles and way back with supremacy, the hard part is when you recognize that you're in the driver's seat, right? You've got the numbers, you've got the points, whatever, and it's really up to the enemy. The hard part about that is right here. I'm gonna pause it right here. You got both caps. You just killed the destroyer. The hard part is you have to be thinking, what's the enemy going to do? But more importantly, you also have to be thinking, how do we not lose a ship for, free, right? For no trade.
Right.
And I guess the difficult part is when you, I mean, you know that Venezia is probably going out to the border. At what point does that Venezia turn south? You don't know. Is he going to go all the way to the fidget spinner, or is he going to turn sooner? What's the Mecklenburg going to do? And it doesn't matter that's a Mecklenburg. It could have been an Ohio. It could have been a Kremlin. It doesn't matter, right? Like his board positioning, that was very smart for the two of them to go down south together because they recognized there just wasn't much there to prevent them from making that kind of a push. Also, look at your Harugumo at sea. Right now, Battleship Nagato is not providing vision for that team north. You don't know what the Mecklenburg's doing because he's behind that island.
I think the bigger issue, in at least at this part of the game, is like we recognize that they probably, like I said, they, based on where the Napoli and the Mecklenburg were, they couldn't get into sea or really do much at sea for a decent amount of time. So the play to stop points had to be a B for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the tool that you would have used to do that was the Kleber. And that's what they ended
Sure.
up doing. So you'll see RZ42 take ground up the six line, um, in order to counter that club, which makes perfect sense. Except we didn't realize how quickly Lulu came back from A with the Brisbane.
Right. I think that was the part that you were not expecting to see happen. And then when he was there, I mean, you lost a destroyer because of that.
Yeah,
But
and I mean, to be fair, like from Lulu's perspective, all right, that is a really high risk play, right?
oh
But
yeah.
you're down a ship, you're down caps. It's you kind of have to make the risky plays at that point, and it worked out for him. So like, you can't call it a bad play, but I think like even he would agree with me that it's a risky play. It's just a risk they had to take, and it worked out for them.
Well, I think the key is when Lulu gets detected, let's take a look at where your battleships are. And again, look at your Haragumo too. So, I get that he's, smoking up the team, but once again, there's absolutely no vision at sea whatsoever. Look, even there, somebody shot from up to the north, not detected.
Yeah, that was the Mecklenburg shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we do have a pretty solid idea of where the ships are just based on like process of elimination and like where we last spotted them and how fast they can move and where they're shooting from, right? So
Of
we're not
course.
super concerned about C at this point.
Of course. All right, well, there's the mech. And there's Lulu. Okay, so when Lulu is spotted, who's got shots on him? You can see the Vermont took a shot. Murica, I don't think so. Maybe.
Now the battleships kinda, I mean the Vermont kinda does, the Montana doesn't because of the island, but I mean he's still
Right.
in a semi crossfire between the Stalin, the Moskva, and then the Worcester and Harugumo can also add DPM there.
Well, and he's concerned about the Napoli and Mecklenburg over on the 9 line,
Yeah.
right? Because he doesn't know where they are, what they're gonna do.
I mean, to be fair, the Brisbane does take a ton of damage for doing this, but we just didn't finish getting the trade. So it's really
Yeah.
unfortunate. If we trade there, I think we still win this game.
All right. So I paused it here for a second because I think you guys had an opportunity that maybe you didn't think about or take. But what if you what if you just told Chukwama to go forward here?
Mm, I think that puts him at too much risk late game or
It
later in the
does.
game from the potential Brisbane and Harugumo coming back from A.
I'm just thinking this is probably the only chance you guys have to catch Lulu after the beach. Is you get him up there in radar.
I don't know if he had radar at this point.
I don't either, off the top of my head. But I mean, you don't have any other destroyer that's in position to do something like that.
Yeah,
It's far
I,
too
I think so.
important that Nagato keeps your cruiser ball smoked at that position. So I get why he's over there.
I think honestly the more important thing here at this moment of the game is just turning both of our battleships in.
Hmm.
Like they're both really healthy. Their Montana is not. So turning the Vermont into the Montana makes a ton of sense here.
Right,
And then turning our Montana up to C to block that Napoli from being able to punish our Moskva
right,
or to like push our Worcester Bergamo combo away from C. Like
right.
I think that's just the play. And at worst, like you get the Napoli kill and you ram out Dastard in the Mecklenburg or something.
I mean, a Napoli is a threat if you're shooting at it and it's bow onto you. If it's going to smoke up and stuff and you lose sight of it, what do? You just turn out and who cares? Because
And
what's he
we
going to
also have
do?
a Moskva radar there. We have a Worcester radar there. So if like the
Right,
Napoli is smoking at the Montana, we have a tool for that.
right. So it just feels weird that Murica, maybe it's an instinctive turn out, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Both of your battleships are turned south right now when they really should be, even at the very least, are turned north into the enemy.
I mean, part of it is also right, like without knowing how the rest of this game plays out,
Yeah.
position wise, you've got two caps, your up ships, or actually you're even ships now, but like
Yep.
it's a 200-point lead, right? That is
Mhm.
not usually a situation where you want to aggress your ships because you'd be risking your HP when you don't have to.
So let me ask
Um,
you a counter question then. Why is your Harugumo going to A?
because A is safe enough usually, right? You're
Okay.
not we're not pushing past A in this situation, right? If the Harugumo and the Brisbane were gonna like aggro up the one line, and then push past the cap, like that's absolutely too much aggro.
Sure.
But we feel like we can just block the cap indefinitely without risking the ship too much.
Okay.
And to be fair, if we had the loss of Brisbane to the Montana shot, like that, I think that's a valid like situation to
Right.
be in. Like the
But
Harugumo wasn't like his fate wasn't sealed until we also lost to Brisbane, right?
but the part of the but what I'm getting at is that Hargma going to A kind of seals your Brisbane's fate, right? Because Pratt is going to use the smoke. You're going to see that here. Later, he's going to get surprised by the Montana and just, well, we know. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like having the two together, when you leave them, there he goes. So I feel like getting the A cap and then just going back to Frat might have been the smarter play for that Hargamo.
Yeah, that's valid. I think it's 2020 though. Like
Yeah.
we didn't expect the Montana to aggress to that rock and get shots on him. So if the Montana doesn't do that and doesn't kill him, like the Brisbane's fine just open watering right there against another Brisbane.
Mm-hmm. I know he's not afraid of another Brisbane. I agree with you there. It's just usually when I see a Brisbane with a smoke biatch, I see the two of them always together, and when they split up, that's when you run the risk of
Yeah,
losing one or both. So
the calculation we made was just that risk was worth it to stop the points at A, what we were hoping to be indefinitely.
mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that if you notice, the Montana got a huge shot on our Vermont too when he was turning back in. So if our Vermont had turned in earlier, like he's
Yep.
not exposed to that broadside turn.
Yep.
But that Montana position for them was huge.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely it was. And they played it quite well. The other thing is, like I said, as soon as Frat dies and the Haru knows, well, I'm screwed, right? That's Todd Howard's. Um, like I said, I was expecting him to go right to the Vermont because the two together can still play quite well, right, with each other, as opposed to, you know, what happened.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if he had an opportunity to get out or not. Like maybe he did.
Well, yeah, let's
But
try
again,
to.
it's one of those things that when you're in game, you're not necessarily like you're not always going to catch that.
Yeah,
Like
no,
in the
I
moment, it
agree.
might not have made sense to come out.
I agree. Let's take a look at Todd Howard's at A. Let's see if he gets, you know, let's see when he's lit, when he's not. Because that'll give you an idea of at least the Brisbane's radar, right? And then we're probably gonna have to call it a stream pretty soon after, because already 20 minutes late. It's a nice game though. I'm glad that you were able to jump in here. We were able to talk through this, and even beforehand, remember I said, "Hey, I'm looking for some good games," and you're like, "These two."
Yep.
So I do
It's
appreciate it.
it's a good like I mean it's a painful game for us, but it's also like a really good game to see how decisions sort of
Hmm.
dominate for us.
Well, and that's why I like doing these deep dives, because you can talk through so many different things, and of course, all of this is happening, in the moment. There is no pause button, so you have to have a plan, and then you have to have a backup for when that plan fails, and et cetera, et cetera. Oh, the Napoli's got a broadside on Chukwama Stalin. I see. All right, Todd Howards is in A. Let's see what happens. He is not detected. I really feel like he had an opportunity to leave, and he just didn't. Still not detected. And like I said, because he reversed there, Montana didn't get a shot. Didn't get spotted.
Oh, I know why he didn't leave now.
Okay.
We were going for the Salem kill and the Montana kill. So if you saw it, like it's only
Mm-hmm.
one little smoke, but you see that he's smoked up right
Yep.
there.
Yep. Yep.
He's
Yep.
trying to add DPM to the Salem, um, to get that
Okay.
Salem kill and then the Montana kill as well.
Gotcha.
So that makes sense. And then by the time that happens, like he's locked in with the radar. So now I
Yeah.
understand why he did it.
Fair enough.
And I think in the moment that's like a totally valid play to make.
Yeah. I think saving your hit points is. Yeah. I mean.
But I mean, look at it this way, right? Like if you pause it right here, or actually like maybe 2 seconds ago,
Yeah.
if he leaves, right? He saved his ship or whatever, he's down on, I don't know, G3 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be in all three caps, and then we would get into C, but at a pretty big cost.
Sure.
And then we potentially don't get the Montana kill, and we have no shot at the Salem kill. Um, so I think looking back at it, even knowing that he dies there, uh, I think I still leave him there to farm the Montana and Salem
You're
because those
screwed either
kills
way.
those kills have to happen at that moment.
Yeah.
The different thing that you would do is rather than pull him out, you would try
Mm-hmm.
to support him for the rush more. You would maybe have the Vermont waiting for the Brisbane to walk around the corner. You would have the Stalingrad looking for the Harugumo or something like that.
I'll tell you, if that Vermont, like you had said, it turned in, if he was waiting, that would have at the very least been a trade. With that Hargo would have died.
Kermit did get a pretty good hit on the Harugumo. That's one of the reasons he's so low. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, this game came down to two also really low ships at one point. Like
Yep.
Lulu was giga low and beached, and we couldn't finish him. And
Yep.
the Harugumo got away on what 300, 200 HP or something.
Yep. It happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for sending in both of these replays, and congratulations to you and BONKZ for making it as far as you guys did. You came in third place, North America, and unfortunately, you were eliminated from this coming weekend. So we only have one hope for NA, and that is Elser, the #1 team.
Yeah, they're so strong though. Like I expect them to do pretty well.
Yeah. So when we were talking through the, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to say it anyway because whatever. But when we were talking through the games that we could cast for the official channel this coming weekend, we had really a couple choices. We could cast the winners bracket, and the winners bracket is full of 4 EU teams. And we kind of all looked at it and we're like, this feels like we're going back to regional finals again. Or we had the opportunity to cast Asia versus Asia or Asia versus NA, I think is the way it worked out or whatever. So our vote, I'm not 100% sure it's official, but our vote is to cast the Elser game against, I don't remember who they're playing. Suki, I think. Because we feel like, for one, if either of those teams lose, they're eliminated immediately. So it's single elimination for them. There's a bit of drama there, but also,
in a way, it's also the fresher storyline.
exactly. We've seen this before with the EU team. So let them go play. We'll go back up to the winner bracket and see what happens with them afterwards. But Penta's, I don't know who they're playing off the top of my head. Rain,
Yeah.
Penta and Rain aren't together. So chances are it's going to be Penta versus Rain in the winners bracket final. Chances are. WND looked very strong. They've done some things. I'm excited to see them play. But we'll see what happens. So cool. All right,
Well, I
guys.
appreciate you covering our games and having me on, and all the
Of
support
course.
that you guys have given us across like regionals and then internationals after.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. We're all in this together. We're all looking at this together, and I think it's helpful for people to understand, you know, the decision making that's going on and the thought processes, and the number of times you said calculated decision, right? Like I think it helps for people to really understand from my perspective as a caster, from the viewer's perspective. You look at something, you're like, why the heck did this happen? And then you're able to kind of answer that almost directly, and that's really impressive. So appreciate that, really do. Thank you, Optix.
You're welcome.